yes, my roots run deep. I say, scoot down, baby, come close at me. Don't talk about the stars, cause this one that's right. You're my island woman.
I remember this song. I love this song. That kid gets so much talent.
I know. The music you've been listening to came from a Sandwich Islands project that called California 808, and that music can be found on iTunes. And that was brother Josh Kealoha Valoria with a little bit of Scoot Scoot, and before that some Kiho Alu by T. Dan Hofstad, and that can be found on a Sandwich Islands project called California 808 on iTunes. So, welcome to the Aloha Friday Sandwich Island Social Network show. It's a series of interesting, fun conversations sharing the lives and journey of people in our island community. The Sandwich Island Social Network is a nonprofit organization serving Hawaiians and Hawaiians at heart away from their island home. And tax-deductible PayPal donations are gratefully accepted at SIN Radio 808 at sbcglobal.net. And gmail.net, correction, sinradio808 at gmail.net. So please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and you'll be notified every time we add content. Now, all the way from the slopes of the mountains in Kohala, she's coming down in the mist. You know, you just want to picture this Vahini coming down in the mist. Ooh, I coming from the mountain. Moku oke ave. Oh, I better watch out. Is my my partner in crime, Pualalea Hanamai Kai, who often joins me in creative projects with the Sandwich Island Social Network. So aloha and good morning, my dear. Where you are? It's still early. I know the mist and the roosters and the cows are
And the
still.
roosters and the cows. You gotta love that country living, but mahalo, Uncle. It's always good to be here. Well, I want to remind our folks joining us live on Facebook that our Aloha Fridays with the Sandwich Island Social Network is a live, interactive, and a chat-driven segment. So if you have comments, please make them, but no be pilau, because then Auntie Pool gonna be coming after you. But we love to hear from our guests. Right now, in our Facebook, we have Brother Marty Burns and Sister Val Anduhanapohaku. I miss you, Val. I haven't seen you a long time. My Disney addicted friend.
Brother Marty Burns says, Aloha avakea kako. He goes, sitting outside on this beautiful day, hanging with you guys. There's Brother Marty Burns. And what? There's our girl, Val. We haven't seen her for a while. Aloha, Val. Aloha to you and Brother Steve Moy out there. So, yeah. So, on our Aloha Friday show today, we are so pleased that he accepted our invitation. He's all the way on the Garden Isle of Kauai, and we say aloha and welcome to Kaliko Ma'i'i. Good morning, brother.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Well, thank you for having me on.
We are so grateful. Now, along with his collaborator, Aina Paikai, Kaliko Ma'i'i is one of the creators of the short film, A Hawaiian Soul, which is a story of George Helm. And so let's jump right in and let's talk a little bit about Kaliko over here. Let's go back to the mid '80s now. We find you at a Hawaiian immersion school that is actually pioneering in an all-language Hawaiian language curriculum on Oahu. Tell us about your early experience now at the immersion school and what was going on with you in your life.
Yeah, well, my mother, Waldine Palmera, she started going to UH where they just started to have Hawaiian language classes, and that was the early beginnings. A couple years prior, they had a preschool, the first Punana Leo, which was greatly influenced from the preschools over in Aotearoa in New Zealand. And so they just started the preschool, and they're thinking like, what's next? So what next? It would be an elementary school. So in '86, the first school was at Waiau. It was called the Kulakepuni o Waiau, and it was kindergarten, first grade, and we had a sister school in Hilo. And so that first class, it was mainly all students of teachers, Hawaiian language teachers. And my mother eventually became a Hawaiian language teacher at UH, and my stepfather, he's a professor at the university. and yeah, at the time we were living in Punalu'u, which is on the other side of the island to get to Waiau. This was before the H3. And yeah, we spent an hour ride each day. And there was actually a family who they were living in Laie. So a lot of times we would carpool together.
So, Kaliko, what I'm hearing is at a very early age, the seed was planted. I mean, your mom and your stepdad, I mean, neighbors from Laie, you guys there's all this conversation. So you were nurtured at a very early age is what I'm hearing in Olelo, Hawaii, in the culture. The seeds were planted very early with you.
Yes. And yeah, that first year, again, it was kindergarten, first grade. They put me in the first grade. I was 6 years old. Couldn't speak Hawaiian, and within I just remember not knowing anything, and then I think like a month later, I could be able to speak and talk and yeah, that foundation has been a huge influence throughout many moments of my life.
Yeah. So now you go went all the way up to 12th grade. Right. And now, was that at Anuenue in Palolo at this time? You transferred to that campus?
Yeah. When we were in the 7th grade. See, Waiau, we were basically, they're throwing us within already established English school. So at the time we had a duolingual school. We had one side Hawaiian, one side English. We never intermingled except recess time. And 7th grade, we moved the whole school, kindergarten to 7th grade. We moved it to Palolo, to the Anuenue school, which was a abandoned elementary school. Famous people who went there were many musicians, like the Cruz family and the Israel Kamakaviva Ole. And yeah, we moved there. And I graduated in 99 from Kikulukai Punya Anuenue. And that was the first class in 100 years.
Nice. Students coming out fully immersed in Olelo, Hawaii. Wow.
Yeah.
So then at that point, after graduation, you find yourself at University of Hawaii, and you're pursuing an English degree, correct?
In creative writing.
Oh, in creative writing.
Which is part of English degree.
Degree, yeah. So how did that pique your interest as far as the film school at UH?
I was always interested in creative writing. I was always interested in film and writing for film, and I had mostly everything I need to graduate. But at that time, the first film school at UH started, the ACM program, headed by Chris Lee, who is a local boy producer. He was heading I believe TriStar at the moment, and they started that class. I found out like a couple days before, and I just sat in. And they couldn't get rid of me, and eventually they just enrolled me in the class.
Oh, well, then, as one of the projects in that film class, you created a documentary about your dad, right? And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that project. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, so we had to do a lot of film projects, but one of the projects was a documentary, and I was curious about my dad. Like my parents, they split up when I was 2 years old, so there's a lot of things about my dad's life that I didn't know. For instance, I didn't know. The subject of our film is Hawaiian Soul, which is based on George Helm. And just to clarify too, I'm a producer on that film. The writer and director is Aina Paikai, but a lot of I provided to the story a lot of the story elements, which is insights from my dad. But growing up, I had no idea. I had no idea that my dad played music with George Helm or even knew him. Like I knew George Helm because of his music. I loved his music. I had no idea that the guy playing bass on it was my dad. At a point in the CD, he goes, "Oh, Steve, to my left." I didn't know that was my dad.
All those epiphany moments, yeah.
Yeah. My brother was like heckling me because I didn't know. My older brother. And so I decided to do a documentary on him, and I interviewed him about his days playing music, and he talked about his first band that he played with. It was during Vietnam, and his friend Henry Kapono asked him to come play music with him in South Asia. And eventually, so they went there, they played music. The name of the band was the Pakalula Trio. And eventually they just kept going further and further south until they ended up in Vietnam. And lots of crazy, life-threatening stories in Vietnam. He had a girlfriend who blew up in a car. She was in a different band. He was in a bar in the bathroom, and the whole bar blew up. And luckily, he was in the bathroom at the time. A lot of people died, and they were kind of for a while. They were stuck there. They didn't have enough money to get back, and they were just doing the circuits, playing music for the military. And so he told me a lot about that. He told me a lot of stories about that. I got to interview Henry Kapono and interview his band members, and I got to interview. My dad used to play music with the Beamer Brothers during their heights, during their famous album, and lots of other bands. But I also got to talk to him about George Helm a little bit. And the reason why he never talked about George Helm is because he wanted to protect his family. I think at the time of George Helm's passing, I think there were a lot of threats going out, and I believe my dad was threatened, like, "Hey, you better be quiet, don't say anything." Not that he knows anything, but keep your mouth shut. And as any parents, you don't want to share. You don't want to put your children in danger or your family in danger. So he never talked about it. And the only time he ever talked about it was during that documentary. And he still doesn't talk to me about. He still doesn't say a lot to me about George Helm. But he did say at the time that he met him, George Helm was very serious. He was very stern. He was almost like transcending to a different place, a different mind frame, and which is different compared to stories that I heard when he was young, where George was very many of his friends say that George was a joker, and he was always trying to make people laugh. When my dad knew him, he wasn't that. He was just, I think he was focusing all his energy to protect Kaho'olawe and to get people, to rally people to the movement.
It's kind of interesting to hear the different facets of George Helm, in his life from a whole different aspect, from your dad's point of view, from what others perceived George Helm to be in the public eye and stuff. While we're here, we wanted to acknowledge some of our friends jumping in. There's Cindy saying aloha, everyone. She's up in San Miguel, up in central coast of California. Welcome, Cindy. Cindy joins us just about every week. Auntie Hetty is here. Auntie Hetty, Uncle Larry, aloha kako. Thank you, Auntie Hetty, for joining us. And we have DC Makaena, aloha kamaka. What a You sing to the beautiful Pualalia. Auntie Tuila and I just jumped in for Ni'eli, you folks, on today's program. So nice. And let me see. She is, who else is joining us? I think we have a few others that are joining us as well, and we'll get to them. So, I'm hearing some of the influences that your dad had in your life when he shared. Let's segue to the subject now, since we're talking really about George Helm. At what point did you become aware of the name and the history of George Helm? Was it when your brother talked to you about this, or what all of a sudden sparked your interest? Was it his music, or what was going on with you where you became interested in George Helm?
I don't know exactly the point. I know being part of Hawaiian language, being part of the first class, it's already kind of a political statement, right? Like since language was outlawed in schools 100 years ago, and so I think there's already, every single year from '86 till high school, we were outside the DOE office, us as kids. We were holding signs, give us money for another year. There's always the debate between, whether Hawaiian language kids can function in the English world. And so there's already that spirit of protest. And, 93 was the huge, the thing at the overthrow. The thing at the Iolani Palace for the 100th anniversary of the overthrow. And so naturally, George Helm's name appears. And at the time when I was growing up, I noticed that even at that age, I noticed that a lot of people did not know who George Helm was. In general population or regular folks. But for me, it was partly hearing about him, hearing about PKO, and hearing about them trying to stop the bombing, like little tidbits here and there. But for me personally, it was connecting through his music, and I feel like his music, he's able to like dive deep into the songs, like each individual songs, and really express them in a way that others don't. And I think it has to do with his research and his at that time they couldn't speak Hawaiian, but somehow George Helm was able to get to like the essence of the songs. Yeah. So
here's a picture of George at one of his concerts, talking to people, and no doubt expressing his concern about some of the things that were going on there. As you say, he took the opportunity at every chance that he did have to talk about the issues, right, that were there. he was not afraid to speak up. Here's another one, and this is where would you say this is there? When we look at this picture,
Yeah, this is the Iolani Palace,
mm-hmm.
and you have Walter. That's Walter Riddy in the talking, and George Helm to the left, and to the right is Uncle Harry Mitchell,
Wow.
who was a big supporter of the PKO and their efforts, and his son actually was the one who passed with George when they were lost at sea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, classic. And as a musician, he was a regular performer over at the Gold Coin restaurant. Here is a flyer advertising him and his guitar player Homer Hugh at the Gold Coin restaurant right across from the Old Star Bulletin building. And
His bass player.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And actually, this comes from this is from an album, actually.
Okay.
And this I've never heard this album. This album has like about 40 tracks. Half of it I've never heard. It's one of those albums that gets lost in history because of the when you're going from albums to tapes to CDs and to digital. So I would love to get my hands on this album.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah.
Me too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
So a little side note about George Helm's music. I'm a lifelong hula dancer. So when it comes to Hawaiian music, the music's everything. And in almost every show, every musician wants to sing Hi'ilave. And yes, I'm tired of dancing Hi'ilave. until I hear Uncle George Helm's version. His version is so off the charts. It's completely different. It's the most beautiful version of Hi'ilave. If you guys out there in Facebook land or in social media land have never heard his version of Hi'ilave, download it. It will change your life, especially if you're a hula dancer.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing because his version, the way he sings it, I've never heard anyone else sing it like that. Like, the classic version you hear is from Uncle Gabby. Yeah, so that's very interesting that you love that version. Like, I love it too.
Yeah. Here's George, and this is at the state capitol, Kaliko, talking with some folks who came out to. He went right to the state capitol and took some of the concerns of the group right to the Capitol, state capitol, to the Congress, right?
Yes, he gave a speech on the floor expressing their concerns over Kaho'olawe, and you can actually there's a documentary that Aloha Aina produced on YouTube called Kaho'olawe, George Helm. That I recommend everybody to watch.
Nice.
And there's a little segment in there from the Hawaii State Capitol.
Nice. So now your University of Hawaii Film School education turns into an internship. You end up on the crew of the TV show Lost. You end up for the next 6 to 10 years working in feature films. You did some commercial work, and at some point you meet Aina Paikai through a Maori teacher. I think she passed away recently, or I'm trying to remember her name. I have it here, but she was the one that said you should meet Aina. Yeah, Marita Mita.
Yes, yeah. She's a filmmaker. There's a great documentary I suggest everyone to watch on her. It was made by her son. It's called Marata, How Mum Indigenized the Screen. And she made political films about New Zealand at the time, but she's also the first female director to do first female director in New Zealand to do a feature film. But yes, she she loved Hawaii. Her husband at the time was a Hollywood director from New Zealand as well, and they loved Hawaii as a place to re-energize. And her time here, she taught many filmmakers and yeah, she introduced me to Aina when I was already out of college.
And so Aina had already in his mind, as a collector of stories. And one of the interviews that I read, he just loved telling stories and turning stories into narratives into movies. And you had some great synergy there, because it seemed to me that it was meant to be. I don't think it was just by accident. I think it was meant to be that you two crossed paths, really.
Yeah. Aina was the perfect guy to direct this piece, because he's humble, and his perseverance, and one of the things that he had to do, one of the biggest things that he had to do was talk story with the family, present them with the script, talk to them about like all the details of the script, and get their approval. Some things that they didn't like, you had to go back and redo it. And the amazing thing about it is that there's been many people who've come over the years to try and tell the George Helm film, the movie. Like, people have come with like full feature film scripts, TV scripts, and to the family, George Helm is not like a character that you can just mess around with however you like. It's actually, and that was a good lesson for me and Aina too. Like, this is a real person. He has real family who love him. The details around his death is still still a mystery. It's still, there's no solid answers to it. There's some heva that's involved with that, and so Aina was able to present a script that the family, that the family could agree on.
Aina was going to join us, and I know he's in transit. He is in the process of flying from Oahu to meet you on Kauai here. So as we speak, he might be on his way to the airport. But I do have a quote from Aina over here. He said, "One thing I'll never forget," and he's talking about Mita over here. She said, "Anyone can do camera or lighting, but only a few people can tell good stories." And Aina said,
Yeah.
"I've always cultivated a challenge within me to keep telling stories, especially Hawaiian stories, because they are amazing and haven't been seen before."
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I never heard that before. And
Nice.
from Minata, one thing that she taught us is like, there's some stories that may seem ordinary, but it's about it's like finding those stories, those ordinary stories that are actually extraordinary. And our film is a perfect example of that. I don't think the story that we told is a true story, and I don't think a lot of people would actually choose that story to tell the George Helm story.
So my question is, I mean, we realized that the amount of research and going back and forth with the family had to go to, construct this project. But in all of that, what was the message you and Aina were wanting to portray and send and give to the people?
Yeah, we wanted to honor George Helm. We wanted to show something about George Helm that made him, like what was like the one thing that made him so unique in all the people of the world. Part of that was his activism, and a huge part of that was music, and how he used his music to how he used his music. Sorry, my kids are talking over here.
Bring them on screen. Let me see the
I
keiki.
was just gonna say, bring the
Bring them
babies
on.
on
We
the
like to see the
camera.
keiki.
Because Auntie Pua loves other people's babies.
This all Ohana over here. Bring them. We like see them. They like see.
Okay.
We like say good morning.
But now,
If they like.
they're talking. Anyways, let me go again.
Never mind, getting those kids.
Yeah.
Come say hi to Auntie Pua and Uncle Kamaka.
I should say,
Right?
as we do that, the pictures of the film itself, Hawaiian Soul. Oh, do we have the Kiki? Where are they?
Do we have a baby? Oh, hi, baby. Look at you.
Hooey!
We're gonna make you Facebook famous.
And this is Vana'au.
Here.
Aloha.
This is my toy.
Oh, so ooey, those guys.
Oh,
We
so
love it.
precious.
We love it,
Big
love it,
sister.
love it. Aye, it's so
I have
beautiful.
one more daughter, big sister. She's at soccer practice right now.
Aw.
Oh, look at your babies.
Thank you for that. We love it.
Thanks for joining us, babies. Have a good day.
What a
I'm not even lying when I say I love other people's babies because they're just
so
amazing.
cute, so cute.
And so we also, that one unique thing, and like he was able to come into a room that was hostile towards him, and he could sing a song, could sing a Hawaiian song, and halfway through the song, everyone loved him, and everyone was willing to hear his message. And we thought that was something truly unique. And it's part of it is like the movie is like looking within, using your talents to and we also we felt like his name and his sacrifices and his legacies was getting lost through history, and so
Yes.
we wanted to make the film so that kids, next generation, are able to know him, and if they feel a call like George to Aloha Aina, to protect the land, concerning issues over our natural resources. Yeah.
That's what you said something when about him choosing that one thing, play to your talents, and that is truly a Hawaiian ideal. Our kupuna did that all the time. Was you found the strengths in the next generations, and you malama that rather than trying to force them and pigeonhole them into something else. So, kudos on finding those unique qualities of George Helm and this film. So I'm going to be honest, watching this film, there was a lot of Vaimaka going on, and Antipua was ue in every minute. But Hawaiian Soul made a
Full
splash.
disclosure over here, Kaliko. I was talking with Pula Leah, I think it was the day before yesterday, and I was sharing with her because she's been very busy with her studies and stuff, and I wasn't sure whether she could come and share it, Aloha Friday with us. When I
Yeah.
mentioned it, she goes, OMG, I already saw it. It was beautiful. I saw it stream online with the Hawaii International Film Festival, and she just went off, Kaliko. She just went off about it.
I think I even got emotional then too. I was just like, oh my God, here they come, here they come.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly because, growing up, all I heard was this legendary George Helm, and everybody had their little inputs and stories and all their mo'olelo about him. So seeing the film, it was almost as if, holy smokes, he came to life. And the brother you got to play, Uncle George, oh my God. Oh my God. It was perfect. But
Yeah.
it's being passed around in the all the different island communities, and of course with rave reviews. And we want to make sure that within our community, especially with our Sandwich Island social network, all of our network people, to make this more available, because I believe everybody needs to see this film.
I agree.
And so how can we make that happen right at this point? Because right now it's becoming more widely available, correct?
It goes. It has its flow, its ebb and flow of when it's available and when it's not. This year is the first year that everything's been on virtual, and we're it has its good and bads. Like, the good thing about it is more people can see the film. The bad thing is, like, we can't watch it as a communal experience in a movie theater, and actually, like, everyone in the crowd, like, sharing those moments of happiness and sadness. And but right now, at this moment, there's nothing available virtually. Like, tonight, if you're in Hilo, if anybody's in Hilo, there's a film. There's the Made in Hawaii Film Festival. It's tonight at the Hilo Palace Theater at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, if you're in Kauai, there's a Social Awareness Film Festival, which Aina is coming for. And this will be me and Aina's first in-person screening that we're together. Because I didn't get to go to the one on Oahu because of COVID and the quarantine and everything. We do have a Kickstarter going. The Kickstarter is part of it. It has to do with the Hawaiian Soul. You can find the link on our website, which is hawaiiansoulmovie.com, or on our Instagram. But the Kickstarter is, half of it is money that goes back to protect the Ko'olawe Ohana. Half of it is for screenings throughout the islands.
I just wanted to share a scene, if you don't mind, Kaliko.
Yeah.
So this is a scene from the church where the George Helm character, and he's so, as Pulalia said, perfectly cast, where he's in the church and he basically wins over that all the kupuna that are there with his voice, with his music, and that is a chicken skin moment in the film itself, where you guys recapture that defining moment, right? Where he, by his voice and by his music, it's just amazing. Here's another one, a scene from the film, and this is George at playing in a club, and I was getting all urkas over there as he's singing, and people are not showing any respect and talking over him, but that realistically was what's happened. And
that's me. That's me to the right. That's me to the right. I'm playing my dad, and then my best friend Kalama, he's playing Homer Hugh in that one.
How
to the left.
sweet is that, huh? You got to do a cameo in your dad's place in that scene. That's
I
awesome.
love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But if I was really playing him, I should have been with my shirt off.
oh.
'Cause all the footage of him playing next to George is with his shirt off. Which you'll see. We just put out a behind the scenes video on our Instagram. Beautiful piece. But there's a whole segment on that. My dad talking about playing music with his shirt off at the time.
Tell us about this shot right here, Kaliko.
Yeah, so that's our director, Aina Paikai, and within the church scene, you can't really tell from the photo, but he's actually wearing a tea leaf headband, same like our actor here, Kaleo Fukumitsu, and yeah, just directing his action in this church that we shot on Molokai. It's very hot in there because we had to provide fog to make the images more beautiful.
Yeah.
They're baking in there.
Everybody had the fans going as well,
Yeah.
but it's very realistic, right? No air conditioning in the churches in Molokai. Hello.
Yeah. Long days, all day.
Well, if we can just for a moment, and I know you were sharing with us, Kaliko, to reflect on the life and legacy of George Helm for just a moment here. The work that group did back in the 70s really was not appreciated by mainstream society or the media. I mean, they were, as shown in the movie, and when I was watching it, and you and I talked about this, Kaliko, they were thought of as being troublemakers, a bunch of hippies. Look at their hair, look how they dress. And it wasn't until many, many years later that their work was seen as noteworthy, of value. I come from the baby boomer generation where my parents, while this was going on, I was a teenager while this was going on in the 70s, right? Or my early 20s. And my dad, although he is a Kamehameha School graduate, class of 32, he was saying, look at them guys, a bunch of hippies, that generation did not appreciate. They thought that these guys were a bunch of bums. They look at them hippies over there. And I remember my dad saying that, and when that is reflected in the movie as well, in which they were not given the respect or appreciation for the message they had then. Why do you think that was at that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think at the time you just did not question the military, and you're coming off of World War II. That I think that experience was very dramatic for that generation, and the bombings and the bombings of Pearl Harbor, and I think that I just think that generation, you didn't question. Like everyone had to help out the war effort, and that kind of that point of view carried on from that time.
Yeah. I'll share with you just a real quick personal experience, if I might. And as I watched what unfolded on the Mauna back in 2016, 2017, and I saw a number of Protect Mauna Kea, Protect the Mauna Hawaiians. They had secured themselves at a crossing point, in the road. And there was Walter Riddy, along with Jamaica Osorio, John Osorio's daughter. By the way, John and Randy wrote the song Hawaiian Soul, dedicated to George Helm, and that's the name of the movie. What a connection there. But Walter Riddy said that the Mauna Kea activities was for this generation, and it was what the Kaho'olawe Aloha Aina activities was for his generation. And for me as a baby boomer, all of a sudden I had this, my mind was blown because I can now connect all the pieces from things my dad said, my parents said, my uncles who worked Navy Yard, and then down till today. And I made that connection that, my goodness, he was speaking of my generation. He was speaking of this generation. And Kaliko, you said to me the other evening when we were talking that it brought back this phrase, and I'd like you to share on it. Old Hawaiian perspectives on how we view the world is the legacy of George Helm. Old Hawaiian perspectives on how we view the world is the legacy of George Helm. It's very profound, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's about one of the greatest things about Hawaiians is agency, is our perspective. Throughout from ancient times to modernizing, a lot of that modernizing, we modernize ourselves. But as we modernize ourselves, like all the elite that they're doing, they approach things through their perspective. Like they took the tools, they took the Western tools, and they applied it through their perspective. Agency, super important, because the typical story is missionaries came and they told Hawaiians what to do, and Hawaiians just did it. But there's so many examples of why that's wrong, including the alphabets. The alphabets, Hawaiian alphabets, that was Hawaiian initiated. That was part of the deal of coming to Hawaii, of landing, was if you're going to land here, you got to help us make an alphabet. You teach us how to read. Real quick, like the missionaries at the time had 2 years to do it. They didn't do it. So some of the four first ali'i who learned how to read, okay, so like they worked with the missionaries to create the alphabet. But that was all initiated by ali'i. And so agency, Aloha Aina has to do with our perspective on the world and us not being greater than the actual Aina, and loving the land, and the land loving us. And it has to do with us being on the island so far from everybody else. Independence and sovereignty, food sovereignty. And so, Aloha Aina also came into during the overthrow when there was the Hui Aloha Aina, and they were established to support to go against the overthrow and support the old kingdom. And actually, they were responsible for the Ku'e petitions to oppose the annexation, because at the time. In 1897, there was a treaty of annexation in the United States Senate, and because of this group, and because they had this large volume of like 90% people in Hawaii saying no to annexation, the bill did not pass. The annexation bill did not pass. So, and Aloha Aina came again in the 1970s with George Helm folks, and it has to do with a revolution of consciousness and bringing back that term into mainstream. And again, like you said, like with Mauna Kea, it was another revolution of consciousness, but on a bigger scale. At that time, you had all Hawaiians who were, mostly all Hawaiians, against the telescope. And one more connection too, John Osorio's daughter, Heoli, Jamaica, Osorio, her girlfriend is Malia Holloman. It's a little sister. It was like a little sister to me, but she was also one of the producers on this movie.
Nice. Wow.
But there's always that web of interconnection, yeah, regardless of what's going on. But as we all know, I don't want to call it a fight, but the malama of Kaho'olawe still continues on. And where are we at today with that? What is the current condition of all of that kind of good stuff or heavy stuff going on? I don't know.
Well, the as you see in the movie, through the PKO's efforts, they were able to stop the bombing, or they were able to get President Bush to sign off on no more bombing Ko'olawe, which followed by cleanup. They didn't quite clean it all up. They had a budget, and once the budget was done, so there's still bombs on the island, and there's still, at this point, like Uncle Olave, there's still PKO who access the island. They still go there and they have plans set up, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And I don't think they quite get the support they need to revitalize the island through cleanup, through planting. So they still need a lot of support. They still need help.
They do. And there we have the websites that we can get a little bit more information, correct?
Yes. You go on this website.
Part of the reason is access. I think access for the everyday person is a little bit difficult, right?
You have to sign up, and right now, because of COVID, there's no access to the general public. It's only for the PKO members, and I think it's mostly. I think they mostly go there for like makahiki and spiritual reasons.
Okay.
And actually, this year, in October, will mark like I believe the 40th anniversary of practicing makahiki on the island.
Nice.
Which was a dream. Which was a dream of George Helm's.
Wow. Oh, wow. So here's what I'm hearing about Hawaiian soul, which is the brainchild of Aina, Paikai, and Kaliko Ma'i'i to bring this short film, out to the public eye, so folks can learn about George Helm and about his life. It provides an opportunity for folks right now in the islands. So you're kind of doing a little tour of the islands. I was so happy that you got to meet, and Pulalea and I are dear friends of Puni Patrick and Thomas Nizzo, who live in Pakala, and you had been there several months ago at the Waimea Theater with Hawaiian Soul, and Pulalea and I love that theater and love that community so much, and we're glad that you got a chance to take it to those folks there. And that must have been a great experience in that theater, huh?
It was my first time. It was my first time, and even though I've seen the movie 100 times, that was my real first experience because with the music, it was like watching a different movie. And we spent a lot of money on the sound and the music, and it was worth every penny. And the big screen. So yeah, I recommend, if possible, to watch it in person. And yeah, the other thing I was saying about the Kickstarter too is that there's a couple options to rent the film for our Kickstarter, and there's also an option to own the film, which is in the $100 mark. Otherwise, just if you go on Hawaiian Soul Instagram, different film festivals will pop up where you can see it virtually. Like we just got a notice that we're going to be in a film festival in Japan just this morning, and if you contact us through Hawaiian Soul, if you guys have an organization that would like to watch the film. We offer virtual online film showings, private screenings for a fee, and we can also have me and Aina come talk. So we're totally welcome. And me and Aina, we've also probably talked to about 600 to 800 students between kindergarten to 12th grade. We show the movie and talk to them about it. And the interesting part too, Kamako, that you brought up, this one student was like, I don't understand the kupuna. Like, I don't understand why that generation. And it's we have to explain to them every generation goes through different perspectives and ideas, and it's important to acknowledge them, and important not to hate on them. It's just a different time.
Yeah, so true. So then we have the URL where you can go online to hawaiiansoulmovie.com, get more information about it. You can reach out to Aina and Kaliko and their hui over there, and find out more about Hawaiian Soul the movie. And in the meantime, we have been folks that were sharing over here. Auntie Hetty was commenting on your keiki. Oh, she got the beautiful keiki. We're unlike other shows. You get the dog barking. Bring the dog. We like see the dog. You get the kids making noise. Bring the keiki. We like see them. It's not like, be quiet, get out. I'm online. Nah, we all we love it. We love it. Let me see. Also, Cindy, who lives in the Central Coast, says, I would love to see this. Well, Cindy can reach out, and maybe there's a group of folks up in the Central Coast that would like to see the movie, and maybe you can make it possible. It's all kind of like grassroots kind of stuff over here happening. And here we have from Reason Scene Co. He said, awesome message, Kaliko, and to learn about your dad and further knowledge of the history of George, his dedication to the culture and music of Hawaii. Solid stuff. Can't wait to see the film and further my knowledge or the hidden story as it begins to unfold. Big shout out to Brother Don Ka'aukai, originally from Nanakuli, now lives here in Southern California, one of the sponsors of the projects for the Sandwich Island Social Network. Good to hear from you, Brother Don, and mahalo for your continued support. Yeah. So Auntie Hetty says, now I need to watch this film, exclamation point. Yes.
Yes, you do, Auntie. Yes, you do.
And,
yeah, please. We're very flexible, especially if you're a teacher, if you want to share the film with your students. Doesn't matter if they're in Hawaii or not. We'd love to talk to them and continue Anakala George's legacy.
Yeah. So once again, it looks like Aina is going to join us, and we can have Aina join us for a little bit. Let me see. Let's get Aina in here.
Nice.
Let me see if we can do this. Let me
more Keiki. Aloha, Keiki. I love other people's kids.
What's up, Aina?
Aloha. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And what's the name of the keiki in the back seat? The one that the back seat drivers?
Okay. Ovai koino. The Lei Maluko and Emilia.
Aw, so cute. So Aina, we've been talking about Hawaiian Soul, the movie, and we're so thankful. We know that you're in transit. You're on your way to Kauai. But thank you for dropping in. And we have been talking about the storytelling aspect and how you gathered the story and you collaborated with Kaliko on some of the points over here. Just real fast, if I might, what message did you want that story to tell to modern day Hawaiians now who may not know about George? They go, who? George what? George who? What message did you want to get across there in your story there, Aina?
Yeah, I think for the youth especially that didn't know who he is, and for this is their first chance to meet him. For myself and I think for Kaliko, we're both inspired by his passion for his art and his love for Hawaii, and kind of melding the two. And so I think when we talk to students, we encourage them to want to be passionate and pick at those passions. What do they enjoy, and how can they intersect that with their love for Hawaii, and hopefully do something for our community and something bigger than themselves.
Beautiful. And all of this just starts with planting the seed, right? Just planting that seed that you never know how it's going to blossom and what it might be. Yeah. Pulalia, your thoughts?
Personally, I think that this is a very important film because of the fact that Kanaka Maoli have been subjected to our mo'olelo being told by non-Hawaiians, and the mo'olelo perspective being from a non-Hawaiian lens. So watching this film, it was 100% from the Kanaka lens. And that speaks a lot to our values, our perspectives, and our history, and the things that our people had to go through, especially after the overthrow and annexation, because like Kaliko was talking about before, that generation coming about in the 60s and 70s was starting to feel like, hey, you know what, we've been pigeonholed into someone else's story as the major players, however.
Mm-hmm.
So you had people like George Helm coming out saying, hey, you know what, we're going to tell our story in our way, and we're going to change that vernacular. And so I think this is extremely important, not just for Hawaiian people, but for anybody who has an interest in the history of Hawaii.
Love it. Love it. Aina, thank you so much for coming on. I know this is caught up in the middle of a bunch of stuff going on. Look like you guys just putting gasoline.
Yeah.
Over there.
Yeah, apologize for.
Nah, brah. I was gonna say, like, use my gas card. I can cool a little bit, small kind.
Well, I'm coming, so appreciate any we can get.
Very good. Well, mahalo, Aina, for jumping on over here. Anything else you'd like to share with our folks that are watching our presentation today?
No, yeah, just thank you guys for having us, and I'm looking forward to being on Kauai, and yeah, hopefully you can see people in person at the event tomorrow night.
Sweet. All right, Kaliko. All right, Aina, thank you so much.
Aloha.
Aloha, and we enjoyed the movie so much. Mahalo. Take care.
Mahalo.
Quick question: Where is the Kauai event being held?
It's in Kilauea. It's an Aina hole, and yeah, tomorrow night starts at 5:30. It's a little expensive.
Well, that side of the island is very expensive.
Yeah. It's the tickets are expensive, but we're
worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it. I tell people, I don't care if something's expensive. If it's worth it, do it, because money can always be made.
Oh yeah, that's a great philosophy. I love it.
Here we have DC. Here we have DC over here. Let me see if I can get his on it. DC Makaena. Let's see if we can get him. He goes, I think that the issue of desecration is still paramount. The bombing of Ko'olawe was a desecration of the Aina, as is happening on the Mauna. First there was permission to build, then 234 appeared. All of the promises to keep the Mauna environmentally clean and contamination free. This is not being done, and the periodical closing of the old telescopes are not being met. Promises by the military community is still not being done. Let us not forget George Helm and what he and others of that time instilled at that time as well. Well said, DC. Well said.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's a great point.
And DC is saying, how's it? Aina, shout out from Surf City, USA, another part of pure Paikai Ohana. So DC is related to Ohana to Paikai over there. So he's very proud of his Ohana as part of this collaboration. Now, just real quickly now, I hear rumblings of more projects in the works. Now that, Hawaiian Soul and you're working on it. And so you're telling me about animation and about graphic novels and stuff like that, all with the Hawaiian themes and Hawaiian folklore. What's that about there, Kaliko?
We, part of it is when I was growing up in Hawaiian immersion, we didn't have material. We didn't have much books. So a lot of times the teachers would just pull up an article from the old newspapers and they would read that to us. And a lot of those were old Hawaiian stories. Probably some of them wasn't suitable for 7-year-olds, but it was in Hawaiian language, and I love them. They're fun. They're fun to me. So me and my partners, who the main artist here, his name is Solomon Enos, a famous artist here in Hawaii, and Liana Kanoa Wong, who's also he does the hu'olelo, the Hawaiian word of the day, and Ikaika Hasi. Our desire to tell these stories, these old Hawaiian stories, and the same thing, like bringing it to a new generation, and the old stories, they're very truthful. They're very truthful to the very nature of men and women, and there's no. I think there's a lot to learn from these stories. There's a lot to learn from our true nature, right? Like and especially like a lot of these stories, it has to do with surviving in this place in Hawaii, especially here in Kauai. Like we have like annual amount of people who pass away because they don't know the stories. They don't know you're not supposed to go there or during this certain time. So
it's true.
So we want to tell a lot of the old Hawaiian legends, the story about the Hawaiian gods, and the first project that we focused on was Kamapua'a, the Hawaiian pig god. Very famous god. He was a god of the people. He was a people's choice god. You didn't really need a kahuna to access him, and again, he's very true to the nature of men.
Yes, in a lot of ways.
In many ways.
I love our mo'olelo because it doesn't follow the that superheroes formulatic kind of journey that is in non-Hawaiian storytelling. It never follows that same formula, and I think some of our mo'olelo is far better than any superhero kind of thing that's going on right now in the world. Just an opinion.
I love it because all of us can remember growing up with cartoons, right? We love our cartoons, and whether it be whatever it was, the Disney stuff, or whether it was Woody Woodpecker or Donald Duck or whatever's. As kids, they put a lot of impressions on our mind, Bugs Bunny and whatever's. But imagine having animated features with the mo'olelo, right, of the gods and goddesses and the folklore of Hawaii beginning to inundate our keiki as part of their absorbing, right? How powerful that would be and how amazing that would be. And so you're on that path, and I'm excited about that prospect, man. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really approaching it from you know, there's a term called transmedia, and it's a very, so like what Disney does is they make a movie, and then they make children's books, they make audio books, they make all these different mediums of the same movie, like of Sleeping Beauty, which leads people back to Disneyland, to the rides, and they hit them from all these different angles. And so, currently with Kamapua'a, we're working on raising money for a short animated film, like a proof of concept film, but we're also making a children's book, a beautiful children's book that tells Kamapua'a's story. And if we have time, we'll do the graphic novel. And the graphic novel, we've done two comics already, like the one picture that you're showing, and yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun to do. But yeah, we would love, from the children's book, making toys. Like two of our guys love making toys. Like they know how to make them, and so making Hawaiian toys. Like I've never had that growing up.
Yeah.
I had X-Men toys and
there's
superhero toys.
There's
I was
Auntie
hearing some rumor.
Lily, I just want to, and then we can go right there. Auntie Hetty saying that's where children books come in. The Hawaiian stories can be made into animated films and vice versa. So Auntie Hetty is a retired librarian, so children's, so she's all over that. As soon as you start talking about that, I know her ears are like, what? What you gonna do? That's cool. I'm sorry, Pua. I interrupted you, my dear.
No. Actually, I didn't see her pop up. I would have went there first as well. But I heard some kind of rumblings. I heard a rumor, something along the lines of Monkey Man. But I was only given that information, just that, and so I'm kind of curious, because I'm one of those nieles. Talk to me about Monkey Man.
Perfect. Since I told I told Kamaka the story yesterday. So when I first started working in film as a camera assistant, I was working on Lost, the TV show Lost. And one particular evening, I was a little grumpy. I was walking around, kind of angry about some stuff, whatever. And this one guy comes into my face. He comes like right into my face. He goes, "Oh, you're from Kauai. Your family's from Kauai. You guys Palmeiras." I go, "Yeah." He's like, he goes, "Oh, your family, your uncle. He had these monkeys. And these monkeys. He would train these monkeys how to grow his weed for him."
So
he's like, yeah, he would these monkeys. He had two apes, and they would go into the mountains. They would plant the seeds and water the plants every day. But then these monkeys, they got into a big fight with these hunting dogs, and they was killing each other, and there's half dogs everywhere, and
So there's this story about this monkey man on Kauai that had apes that were tending his Pakalolo farms, and Pulali, I think we heard it first here on the Aloha Friday show, coming soon to a theater near you.
You heard it first. But no. Let's think about this in this day and age. How relatable is that? 100%.
It's yeah, the story gets way more wild than that, and it's a family story. And actually, I came to find out that the guy who owned the monkeys wasn't my uncle. My uncle was a Portuguese, full Portuguese hunter. So he had the dogs. Somehow their names got switched, where my uncle was the one owning the monkeys. And yeah, this guy he had he had 2 monkeys. He had an orangutan. This orangutan would just this orangutan would roll up weed and drink beer all day. The orangutan would walk to the refrigerator, grab a beer, go back to his to her chair, pop open the beer. There's sightings all throughout Waimea town of this monkey on the passenger seat, this orangutan on the passenger seat.
Okay.
So it's a wild story. I love wild stories. I love characters who don't fit the norm, who are unique, who don't quite follow the rules of society, like Kamapua'a, like Monkey Man. I've had this script for a long time. It's called The Reverend Bad Boy. It's similar, like the Reverend. His nickname was, they call him throughout his childhood. They called him Bad Boy. Is his nickname because he was always getting into trouble, but he ended up being a reverend, and it has to do with Hawaiian spirituality and Christianity and
wow.
And so I'm always looking for those stories that make people unique, like with George Helm. With my dad, the documentary was really cool because you got to see he played for a while, he played bass with all the great Hawaiian bands during that time. Mostly all, like Olopana and you got to hear his stories as a bass player.
Yeah. A whole different perspective, and that's what stories are about, right? Seeing things from different perspectives and sharing the narrative. Right here we have DC. He's going. We're thankful, proud, and inspired by Kaliko and Aina for their efforts towards sharing their collective methods of educating the public of our Hawaiian journey into the future by using the Hawaiian lens to filter out the misinformation of the past. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Auntie Hetty says, absolutely, DC. She's going, yeah. A lot of comments coming in. Thyra is saying, mahalo for informing me about this show. Very educational and informative. I am truly enjoying your guests today. Aloha. Thank you, Thyra. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for signing in. Oh my goodness. We've come near the end of our time together. We should do part 2 over here with the stories that Kaliko can tell,
could be here
right?
all day. All day, bro.
A great thing that you brought up is perspective and the lenses of how we look. Like, we've had 100 years of films being told about us and misinformation, and like I forgot to mention too how I even got into film is when I was growing up, a popular show on TV was called Saved by the Bell. You guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
And I had a lot of girl cousins, so they watched it, so I had to watch it. And do you ever see the Hawaii special?
Yes, I did.
I never saw that.
Yes, I remember that one.
So
oh my gosh, I just told the world that I watched Saved by the Bell.
In fact, Screech just passed away. The Screech character just passed away a couple of weeks ago, in fact. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So what, were you on that episode, Kaliko?
No, I just remember, I remember being like, I think I was like 12 years old or 13, and the Hawaii special came out. We're excited. And the Hawaiians came out. And they were wearing...
You had to roll your eyes the whole time, right? It was an eye-rolling moment. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. They're wearing all kapakahi stuff, and their Hawaiian wasn't Hawaiian. It was just a bunch of noises and grunts and weird sounds. And I was super angry. I was super mad. Yeah. And I was so mad that it pushed me into filmmaking because I spoke Hawaiian at the time, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's Yeah, still now, I'm still mad about it.
that many years
I
later.
was just like you. I got excited because I'm like, oh, Saved by the Bell's going to Hawaii. Let's check this out. And it was the same
Yeah.
thing. Just roll your eyes to the whole thing. And yeah, I had to remind myself that that wasn't our mo'olelo. It was told from somebody else's perspective. And it was a little bit hard to swallow that. It still is, but now we have more of an opportunity to pass on our mo'olelo from our perspectives. In that way, we know that. And I think what it boils down to is the ideals of the Native Hawaiian being so far. There's like this huge disparity between non-Hawaiian and Hawaiian values. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. Wow.
And right now is in the past 3 years, we've seen the most Hawaiian films ever. If you go right now, the Made in Hawaii Film Festival is going on right now, and I believe virtually you can watch a ton of films made by Hawaiians, including the film that Aina was starred in. It's called Down on the Sidewalk of Waikiki. That's available virtually. Another movie is Mo'o, and yeah, right now we're living in a time where we're seeing the Hawaiian perspective from all these young filmmakers.
Well,
it's exciting time.
Kaliko, we are very, very appreciative of young filmmakers like yourself and Aina, and even Branscombe Richmond and his Ohana, Paikai, Paikai as well, and his crew on Maui. It is so refreshing and so enlightening for us to see that now that stories are being told from the lens of the Hawaiian perspective, and that's a beautiful thing. So we come to the end of our time together, the Aloha Friday with the Sandwich Islands Social Network. We have enjoyed so much spending time with you, Kaliko. Mahalo. Mahalo nui, bro. Love it. Thank you for introducing us to your keiki over there. They're so cute. And I'm going to expect you to keep in touch and let me know what you guys will name the new puppy that you got,
Yeah.
And thank you to Aina for logging on. The car was moving. I hope he wasn't driving, but I saw the car, the scenery going by. And I was going, "Ho, bro!"
That was a treat, though. He made it happen.
Yes.
Against what he was dealing with, he made it happen.
Please tell Aina how much we appreciated him popping on and sharing with us and introducing us to his ohana, to his keiki as well. Because that's us, man. We family. We just love it, love it, love it. And so for our viewers, thank you so much for being a part of our Aloha Friday with
right.
Kahi always jumping on. She goes, "Oh,
hi,
Kahi Al
sister.
says, I enjoyed today's show." That's
mahalo.
And speaking to our family, our Sandwich Island Social Network family, make sure you visit us on YouTube, where we do have all of these all of our videos of our shows during the week. We post them up. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bells. That way you can see all of our content as it's being posted rather than 2 months later. Look for us, Sandwich Island Social Network on YouTube. You can also find us on all of social media platforms. But don't come to my Facebook page, guys. You don't want to see what's on there. Go to Uncle Kamaka's. It's good.
Yeah, I just want to say mahalo nui to everyone. Like I have a soft spot for our Hawaiians living on the continent, living all over the place, and mahalo nui to everyone. I hope you folks can see the film at some point, and aloha.
Thank you so much, Kaliko. And so keep us abreast. Let us know, of further releases and other projects you're working on, anything we can do to help get the word out to the entire group of Hawaiians and Hawaiians at heart on the continent, if you will. They are just as much wanting to be very much a part of what's going on. So once again, if you're able to, for our friends, go to HawaiianSoulMovie.com. There you have the poster for that, a movie that was directed by Aina Paikai, produced by Kaliko Ma'i'i. And if you'd like to have a private showing, reach out to them because that is definitely possible for it to happen. So until next time, we want to say mahalo to everybody who came on to support the show here this afternoon. What a great group! Mahalo to all of the ohana that come every Friday. They jump on and they make sure that Kukamaka is awake, number one, and they come to see Pualalia actually because she is on it.
Because I'm cute.
And on top. All right, mahalo everyone, and we invite you to join us every Friday at 12 noon Pacific time to catch interesting conversation with island people and island hearts, because that's what we are all about. Thank you so much for joining us, and please have a blessed rest of your day. Aloha no, everybody.
Ahoy
Aloha.
ho!
We'll